guys, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do a full circle skirt. I'm going to be using black mini matte fabric, which is pretty cheap. That's why I chose this one. Then for the first step, what we're going to be doing is that you're going to be taking fabric, you're going to fold it in half and you're going to lay it down on the ground. Then thereafter you're going to take another piece, fold it in half, and you're going to lay it on the ground. So the pieces that I'm using, they're actually 3 meters long each that have been folded in half. Then I'm going to lay the folded fabric one on top of the other, and the folded sides are on the same side, so that when I cut out the circumference for the skirt, I cut it out accurately. So what you're going to do is you're going to measure your waist and you're going to check what it is. If it's 80 centimeters, then you're going to take 80, then you're going to divide it by 4, because we're going to be cutting through 4 layers of fabric. Then you're going to use that to make a small pattern or cutout that you're going to use to cut the fabric, which is going to form a quarter of a circle that you're going to put on the tip, and then you're going to cut out a circle. And when the fabric is joined together, it's actually going to form your waist. So when you make that circumference for your waist, if it's 80, you're going to add 3 plus 3 centimeters plus 3, which makes up for where the zip is going to be sewn, as well as the sides where they're going to be sewn. So this is going to add to your seam allowance. So it's going to be 80 plus roughly around 7.5 centimeters. After cutting out the circumference of the waist, you're then going to measure from where the cutout is going to be for the waist, going all the way down on the folded side, depending on how long you want your skirt to be. If you want your skirt to be 1 meter long, then you're going to cut 1 meter from where your circumference starts, plus the seam allowance for the waist belt, as well as when you seam the bottom. So that's going to be 1.5 centimeters plus 1 meter plus maybe 1 centimeter, which will account for the seam at the bottom of the skirt when we finish it. Then you're gonna measure this measurement. If it's 1 meter, you're gonna measure 1 meter all the way around from the corner of the fabric, all the way going around until you get to the other side of the fabric. You're going to measure in a circle, and this is what you're going to use to cut out the circle for your full circle skirt. This is a pattern that I already made some time back, and I usually just use this for the standard T-length skirts, so that I don't have to measure each and every time I want to do a full circle skirt, or half circle skirt also works for both. Thereafter, I'm going to cut out where I've drawn with the pencil, or if you don't have a white pencil, you can always use chalk. It comes off very easily. Then I'm also going to cut out the part that I drew out with the quarter of a circle for the waist. After this, I'm also going to cut out the lining of the skirt. I hate clothing that doesn't have lining, so I always make sure that I do lining for my clothes. So I'm going to be using the pattern that I've already drafted, and instead of using the quarter of a circle, I'm going to be using half a circle. So I've already made a pattern for the waist, which makes up for half of a circle. If I'm only cutting 2 layers of fabric instead of 4, I'm going to need something that has a bigger circumference. So I'm going to be using this one that I've already made if it's a half circle skirt, which will make the lining. Then the next thing, I'm going to be cutting the material that I'm going to be using for the waistband. I actually forgot what this is called, so if someone knows, please comment on the comment section. But what happens with this material is that once you iron on it, the one side becomes sticky and it sticks onto the fabric. I'm going to be using this to harden the waist. I like a waist that is hardened so that when you're sitting, it doesn't wrinkle up or crinkle up. The one that I'm cutting is 4 centimeters in width, and it's as long as my waist is long. Then the next thing what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cutting the waistband from the black mini mat, and it's going to be 4 centimeters plus seam allowance, which is 1.5 centimeters plus 1.5, which is 3. So 3 plus 4 plus 4, which gives me 8 plus 3, which is 12. No, sorry, it's 11. 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, it's going to be 11 centimeters in width, and I'm going to iron it in half. I'm going to fold it in half, then iron it, which forms the inside of the waistband as well as the outside. Then the next thing, I'm going to be cutting out the pockets. So I made a stencil, I made my own pattern for cutting out the pockets. I'm going to be cutting 4 pieces of these, which will make up the pocket for both sides of the skirt. I absolutely love an A-line skirt that has pockets. It's so versatile and comfortable, and it just makes sense if a skirt has pockets. After here, I'm going to be taking 2 sides, I'm going to put them together. I'm going to take the right side and put them in the middle. So the wrong side is going to be on the outside and the right side is going to be inside of the pocket, so that when you open up the pocket, the right side of the fabric shows and it's not the wrong side. So I'm going to sew all around except for the part that's diagonal. That's where the pocket opens. So I'm going to sew all around, and then I'm going to do a seam all around. Since I don't use an overlocker, I'm going to be doing an African seam. Others call it a French seam, but I like to call it an African seam. After here, I'm going to change the foot, and I'm going to use a rolled hem foot to sew the bottom of the skirts. I prefer rolled hem foot because it looks very neat, it looks very tidy, especially for a skirt that is a full circle skirt, whereby the bottom is circular, so it looks much neater and it doesn't warp or bend as I sew the seam, because I've seen quite a lot of skirts whereby the seam was sewn with a normal foot and it doesn't look as neat, it doesn't look as nice or elegant. So I prefer rolled hem, which looks more organic for that type of skirt. If the fabric was cut straight, I would use a normal seam or a normal foot, but because it's the fabric curves, rolled hem foot just makes more sense.
Guys, I would love it if you'd please help me get to 1,000 subscribers by subscribing and also hit that notification bell. Thank you.
Next, I'm going to be heading over to the ironing board. I'm going to take the pockets that are sewn and I'm going to sew the seam allowance for the part where the pockets open. I'm going to fold it, then sew it to the side so that it's easy for me to sew and actually see when I'm sewing it. Thereafter, I'm also going to be folding the fabric that forms part of the waistband, and I'm going to be sewing it down as well as sewing that piece of fabric that is sticky on the one side onto the waistband to make it rigid and firm. The next thing that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be using a pin to show where I'm going to start sewing the pocket on both sides. Then thereafter, I'm going to take the sides that I need to sew onto the sides of the skirt from the pockets and I'm going to pin them so that when I sew, it's pretty seamless. But before I sew the pockets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin where the pockets are going to sit exactly. Then outside of that, I'm going to sew the sides of the skirt so that the only part that's not sewn is where the pockets are going to sit. What I did after this, I checked where the back part of the skirt is going to be, and then I cut a piece of the fabric where the zip is going to go, which I will cut later on to a longer length, but the length is going to accommodate the zip. It's going to be long enough for a short zip since it's a skirt and it's not a dress. After here, then I'm going to start sewing the waistband from the back all the way to the other side. But I'm going to start in the middle in case the fabric puckers or it pulls, so that there is no fabric that is a bit too short or a bit too long by the time I get to the other side. So I start from the middle, sew all the way to the back, start from the middle again, then sew all the way to the back. When I sew in the waistband, I also attach the lining that I cut initially, which is a half circle and rather than a full circle skirt, so that the skirt has dignity on the inside. here I'm taking a tape measure and I'm measuring to check if what I've sewn matches the length of my waist, to check if it's accurate and also where the zip is supposed to sit. So I'm going to go all the way around and checking the circumference of the skirt and checking where I should start sewing the zip based on what my waist measurement is. Once I'm done sewing the waistband, the next step is to attach the zip, as well as adding all of the other finishing touches that are needed so that it's a skirt that is ready to wear, that doesn't have any edges that are fraying, but all of the seams are covered, and it's a skirt that's ready to wear and can easily put in the washing machine without any fabric fraying or coming off. And there you have it. That is a full circle skirt that is done. I like to pair it with a white shirt and nice heels and walk through the mall. I absolutely love the looks I get when I walk through the mall dressed like this, like an elegant lady who's sophisticated, who just looks like luxury. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button. Thank you guys. Till the next one.
Do subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date. See you soon!